Well, relationship failure is one of the biggest challenges in Christian leadership, either between you and one of your team members or between team members. And yet, relationship failure should not surprise us. We're all fallen human beings, and we think of the scriptural examples there are. Paul fell out with Barnabas. Do you remember in another church, Paul had to deal with two women, Euodia and Syntyche, who fell out with each other. And throughout Christian history, we see the bust up between people like great leaders like Wesley or Whitefield, or John Stott and Martin Lloyd-Jones had disagreements. So relationship failure is part of being in a fallen world, but we should seek, first of all, to prevent it. And I think fundamental to that is really to make a priority of building strong relationships where there is trust early on. Never get into a situation where you're disagreeing with people before you've got a good relationship with them. So to make a priority of building strong relationships, and particularly to speak well in public of your team members, even if you're having difficulties with them. One of the things that can really undermine trust and break relationships is speaking behind people's backs about them. But then I think, as well as building strong relationships and hopefully mitigating against failure that way, to attend to the threat of relationship failure early. There's often a temptation to turn our back and not act because we don't like the confrontation, the difficulty, and the anticipation of how it might possibly go. And I think this is one of the big mistakes that David made with Absalom, that he really didn't make an attempt to rebuild a relationship, but just hoped things would get better, and of course they didn't, and then we saw the disaster that there was. So we need to act early, but I think the very first thing we need to do is to hold a mirror up to ourselves and honestly ask ourselves, is there anything that I've done or haven't done that has contributed to this relationship difficulty or breakdown? And first, to be willing to apologize and ask for forgiveness over that can be a great breaker down of barriers. And then to seek reconciliation by talking through the issues. And hopefully that will lead to a restoration of the relationship. But it may be that you discover that, as Paul and Barnabas discovered, that there are situations where people just simply cannot operate in the same team, and it may be better to separate them. And that may mean one person leaving the team or taking up a role where they're not going to be close to the other one with whom they have a real difficulty. And I think finally, just to remember that relationship difficulties are not the end. Think of Paul and Barnabas' fallout over Mark, and later there was reconciliation. And God, in his sovereignty, even used that relationship breakdown to empower the spread of the gospel, because there were two teams rather than one. So God is far bigger than relationship breakdown.